Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Yes, here we go. Follow the money. Welcome in. Show presented by DraftKings. Paulie Howard, Matt Humans, Paul Stone on the program. We'll preview the Sun Belt and Notre Dame. Fighting Irish. Win total 10.5. Depends where you shop. Also, Nigel Seeley on a great day of soccer, and he has opinion on 3 of the 4 matches coming up. Excited for this. Matt has a big opinion on the Chargers win total. We'll preview the Chargers, continue our AFC West, and we'll get to the J.J. Redick press conference, real or fugazi, a good MLB card, win some, lose some, busy show coming up. The drought continues for Canada. Damn, 1993, Edmonton couldn't get it done, and another under in a Game 7, and also a Game 7 Stanley Cup final. That's 17 of 18 that have gone under going back. Now 5.5 goals. You get the first period that goes over, and then only 1 goal the rest of the way. I felt that, it was a tough shot. Maybe it was screened, but Skinner could have come up with the second goal by Reinhart. I can't believe you're watching that at the time and thinking that's going to hold up and be the difference in the game as they play a scoreless third period. You don't even manage a shot with the empty net. But no choke, no epic comeback. Florida in 7, and for the first time, a team that doesn't win the special teams wins a series. 14-1 now, as Edmonton closed the season, killing out 48 of their last 49 on the penalty kill. But no McDavid. And this is something you mentioned from the Conn Smythe angle yesterday, that he doesn't score, he doesn't have a shot on goal, he doesn't register a point. They win, and he goes to minus 3,000 to win the Conn Smythe, and then no points yesterday, only 2 shots on goal. And then they're playing games with that, but I thought he would deliver on the big stage, and McDavid nowhere to be found. Game 6 and Game 7, tough way to go out for the best player.
Yeah, if you're the best player in the sport, you got to step up in Game 6 and 7. You think Michael Jordan would sit by passively and not do much for the Chicago Bulls when the series is on the line? Now, I'm not saying that McDavid didn't do much, but in terms of the last 2 games, when you have only 2 shot attempts and you're the best player in the world, that's inexcusable. And I was getting a little tired of the media hype, too, about McJesus, right? And Sean McDonough, who's an outstanding broadcaster, and who else was on that TV
Ray
crew?
Ferraro.
Ray Ferraro.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were talking last night about McDavid's the best player in the world. And during this series, he's further distanced himself from the rest of the league. How? He didn't do much in the first 3 games. He didn't do much in the last 2 games. Now, there was a 2-game stretch where he had 8 points.
Yeah.
One of those goals that he had in the series was an empty netter. I don't think he came close to dominating the way the media portrayed it. Now, I give him credit, too. He did not come out to accept the award last night after the game. If you lose, don't be out there accepting individual awards.
Oh, you like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
oh,
very
yeah.
good. Interesting, yeah.
No, if you're on the losing team, don't go out and celebrate yourself. No. So I like
Well, it's a tough moment. It's only happened 6 times, and it's weird. It's awkward, yeah. And plus, he's demoralized.
There was so much on the line last night for the Edmonton Oilers franchise, their fans, all their players. I mean, this is the biggest moment of their careers. And then to lose that Game 7 2-1 last night, I don't think McDavid should have been out there accepting that award. Now, we can debate whether or not he should have won it. Conn Smythe is a playoffs award, so the entirety of the playoffs count, not just what happened in the Stanley Cup final. Paul, this is what bothers me the most. And I saw some really, condescending clowns on Twitter last night commenting about, how can you be shocked that Connor McDavid won Conn Smythe? He was minus 3,000 going into the game. All right, in my mind, 3,000 is a bogus number.
Yes.
Because after Game 5, he was minus 175, then the price started to inch up minus 200, minus 250, minus 300 before Game 6. In Game 6, he had 0 shot attempts, 0 points, and went from minus 300 to minus 3,000. That's basically because nobody else had stepped up to challenge him to win the Conn Smythe. I thought Gil Alexander had a great tweet last night charting the Connor McDavid odds movement on the Conn Smythe as the game dwindled and the minutes dwindled and the price dwindled to the point where I think he ended up about minus 250. I'm going to check Gil's tweet.
I tweeted it too. He was 250 at DK in the second period. He got as low as 175. I didn't look at FanDuel, but he was, yes, in the second period, he was minus 250. Barkov was 2-1. Bob was 9-1. So it was a roller coaster. But I know Doug Kazarian has made this comment. He's right about these books are guessing. And it's a fake market because you can't handicap what human voters are going to do. You don't know what's going to happen. And we just went through this with Jason Tatum and Brown with the Eastern Conference MVP, where Tatum was 1,100 and didn't win it.
Right.
So you don't know what's going to happen. Plus, you also have this. Will you still have a voter who's going to give it to a guy on a losing team? So I agree with what you said about Stanley Cup final. But he was phenomenal in the entirety of the playoffs with 42 points in 25 games. Right. I understand what you're saying about what happened in the Stanley Cup at times, and then certainly disappears in Game 6 and Game 7.
In the games that mean the most, Game 6 and Game 7, he did nothing.
But as a book, you're guessing.
Right. He probably deserved Conn Smythe based on the entirety of the playoffs.
Because you're looking at 18-1. And then I mentioned on this show, hey, they're down 3-1. What if they lose in 7? He can get this.
Sure.
And he did. But then you see the odds flip, and then he becomes the favorite. And then it really takes off after the Game 6 win, too. So why did he go from 3,000 to minus $2?
Because he never should have been 3,000 in the first place.
But you also, it goes back to who can you really make a case for? Yeah. Because it was the biggest disparity, the biggest gap between number 1 and number 2 for points in a playoffs. And then Bob had been lit up and pulled a couple games ago, so it was hard to make a case for Bob, even though he had a phenomenal run and a stellar run too. So it was also, but yeah, it shouldn't have been 3,000, but then also was an overreaction to, even though he didn't play well, but to drop him all the way down to $2 as low as 175 at one book and 250 at DraftKings. And then he ends up getting it. But that's a wild discussion and a wild roller coaster with what I was prepared for the madness and an upset too, based on you don't know what these voters are going to do. Every guy's different. I go back to 2016. If LeBron couldn't win it on the Cavs that year, Jerry West did it. But then who are they going to ever give it to on a losing team when they gave it to Iguodala, who was guarding him for much of the series, but LeBron torched him and put up big numbers. So that was another terrific angle with this as well. And the other thing, which is unfortunate, is the horrible sports fans in Florida. And I wanted Canada to end the drought and was pulling for Edmonton. And now many people who were at the game and covered hockey for a long time said they have never, ever seen this many opposing fans in a visitor's building arena in a Game 7. Never seen it before. How do you sell your tickets for that game? The whole reason of having season tickets is for Game 7 winner take all for all the marbles. This is it. This is why you have the season tickets. It's Edmonton fans everywhere. You saw it before the game outside on the concourse. You saw them drinking at the bars and the restaurants. You saw good seats for Game 7. I couldn't believe it. What were they doing? But again, we knew they were blousy sports fans, so it shouldn't be a surprise. But I cannot believe all the Edmonton fans that invaded that arena. And the other thing, I don't recall, all of them, home games, road games, they all wear jerseys.
Sure.
The ratio of Edmonton fans,
it is
every
crazy.
single Edmonton fan has got a jersey on,
Even
which is also full marks.
The Flasher fan, the Playboy girl.
She had a jersey on too. So you understand? I know we're in the media, but that's why would you have season tickets if you're going to sell them for Game 7? That's why you have season tickets and you're a fan for moments like that, which you might never get in that position again.
True.
That was bizarre.
The other one did not help the Oilers win the game.
No.
That was a hell of a game last night, by the way. I think it lived up to the hype, don't you?
Yes.
You said the most anticipated hockey game.
Yep. All the drama.
For you in, 30 years?
Yeah, 1994 Game 7, which was also a phenomenal game and a great finish with Vancouver and the Rangers, also a tight game. And Edmonton had so many chances and opportunities, and I thought they were going to tie it late, and the puck's just sitting there for McDavid, and he couldn't capitalize. And then on the close call in the second period, where it just goes, Tkachuk knocks it to the boards, and then it leads to the goal the other way by Florida to put them up 2-1. Maybe you could say Skinner should have had it, but that's how it ends. And then the rush, and when do you pull the goalie? How much time left? But great series. And how about the jinx and trying to overcome Corey Perry, who has now lost 4 Stanley Cup finals on 4 different teams within 5 years. Yeah. How does that happen? Montreal, Dallas, Tampa, and now the Oilers. Amazing but true.
Bad luck for him.
A lot of people feeling good for Paul Maurice. He's a great soundbite. He gets it done for Florida as they win their first cup. Paul Maurice, what the cup and winning the title means to him.
It's brilliant, right? It's. I've never hugged so many sweaty men in my entire life. I'm not sure I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it tonight. So, you know what? It's not what I thought it would be. It's so much better. But it's the hugs, man. I saw Sam Bennett smile today. First time in 2 years. It's brilliant. You know, it's for my mom and dad in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. My brothers Mike and Shane in Sault Ste. Marie and Waterloo. The whole Langlois clan in LaSalle, Ontario. All of the people that suffered through 30 years of me losing, making excuses. Mom and dad especially. Hey, Dad, your name's going up with your heroes. Beliveau, Richard, Hal, Lindsay, Maurice.
Thanks to Sportsnet. Very good. And I'm sure it's even sweeter, the fact that you're up 3-0, and then, whoop, we got a game. And as we talked about yesterday, what a difficult position to be in for Florida and the organization, where if you win, okay, you're champions. If you lose, you're a punchline and a laughing stock.
That's all or nothing. It's like you're
absolutely.
all in. And that was high stakes game 7, no question about it.
Panthers in 7 paid plus 450, 475 in that range. A bizarre moment in the J.J. Redick press conference. He was introduced as Lakers coach next. Getting close. Thursday, your NFL betting guide comes out. Never been a better time to become a VSiN Pro subscriber. Best bets, every host, every guest, the 24/7 video access, dog videos, panda videos. 13 months. We'll kick in a month for free. 13 months, less than 50 cents a day. And everything you want in the betting guide. Makinen's breakdowns, division previews, Super Bowl bets, props, coach of the year, win totals. It's phenomenal. VSiN.com/subscribe. Code FTM. To get the guide, you got to be a subscriber. VSiN.com/subscribe. Code FTM. Good MLB card today. Again, the beats in this sport, I mean, close to soccer. It's ridiculous. In the shenanigans last night with the bullpens. We mentioned it earlier. The Red Sox have won 8 of 10. They're down 6-2 in the 8th yesterday. They come back to win. The Blue Jays, right, they got to be the biggest disappointment in baseball.
Lost 7 straight.
Wow, they're bad. I know. You go to the playoffs, you have such a good lineup. You thought on paper, again, the offense had so many issues in the playoffs last year, and it carried over to this year. And 35-43, as you mentioned, losers of 7 in a row in last place. They stink.
I'd say you're probably right. I would say the biggest disappointment in baseball, too, the Blue Jays. Red Sox, I'll say they're red hot, but they're turning things around. They embarrassed the Yankees in back-to-back games the previous weekend. Intriguing pitching matchup today because I'd like to bet a hot team like the Red Sox. But Brian Bello is not in great form. He's a slight favorite here, minus 112 at DraftKings. Kevin Gausman, probably the right guy to end the Blue Jays' 7-game losing streak here. But I can't bet on a team on a skid like this against a hot team. That's the opposite way you're supposed to bet baseball. So I am not going to be on the Blue Jays and Gausman. I'll probably lay off this one.
Okay. Boston is a playoff team right now.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
43-36.
Well, hey, they just beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 at Fenway and made the Yankees look bad in the last 2 games.
Right. Hello, Nesson. Hello, New England. We love you.
Yeah.
Are you following this Karen Reed thing? And you know anything about it in Boston? Dedham, I think it's called, where the trial is, Dedham?
No.
Anything? Oh, it's okay. It's wild. I can't help you if you don't know, but it's bits and pieces. Cobb, what happened? Are you being framed? This is like they're showing it every day back there. I think the closing arguments are today. It's wild. What she Googled and what happened, and it's.
Does that have anything to do with sports?
No,
Does it? Huh?
No.
Oh, okay. So I haven't even heard of this. I don't know.
Okay. Google Karen Reed.
I thought you meant that was a Hawk Tua girl.
No, that's not that. Not this time.
No.
Okay. Cardinals and Orioles. Orioles have lost 4 in a row now, and it's Irvin going against Allen, and I don't care who gets hurt. I don't care who's out. Cleveland wins again. They're 50-26.
Biggest surprise in baseball from a positive perspective.
It's an 8-game lead now in the division over the Twins, and you can still find them like $2, $1.90 in that range. 50-26, not crazy about Allen, but now Baltimore, after they had a hot start and still playing good ball, but now you get swept by Houston, still only 2 back of the Yankees, and they've dropped 4 in a row, and Cole Irvin is 135, 130 in that range, 9.5 the total today. What a story by Cleveland here to continue to do this.
Yeah, I don't want to bet against the Guardians right now. By the way, the Baltimore Orioles went to the Bronx and bombed the Yankees. Remember in that last game of the series, 17-5, and they have not played well since. Basically, when I look at the baseball card today, top to bottom, I see a few pretty good pitching matchups. No games I'm jumping to bet at this point. By the way, Kyle Hendricks goes for the Cubs tonight. You talked about the Cubs blowing the game last night in San Francisco. Hendricks, phenomenal in his previous start, threw 5 no-hit innings, finally allowed 1 run in the 6th, struck out 8. But can you bet on Kyle Hendricks to do that back-to-back games, and the Giants have not listed a pitcher yet for tonight?
Well, I asked you yesterday, too, and you said last week was the time to jump in on futures with Houston and St. Louis. St. Louis has won 7 of 10 and 4 in a row. They beat the Braves. They're at it again today. Lopez against Gibson. And Houston has won 5 in a row. And the Astros are only 5.5 back now of Seattle, who is continue to struggle offensively, and they lose a series to the Marlins. They got beat again yesterday. Castillo's $1.30 against the Rays. And then Gibson is plus 120 against the Braves. So this is I did it over the weekend. I think it's a good chance Houston can win this division and catch Seattle, and it's moved. It was 6-1 over the weekend, and the Cardinals now also right behind Milwaukee. Only 5 back? Yeah, 5 back in the division as well. So other 2 games on the card as well. But Seattle, this is so frustrating with Seattle with the lack of punch and no offense. God knows what the record would be.
It's frustrating with a lot of teams.
Sure.
I bet the White Sox
That's
last
right.
night. First five innings, Derek Crochet, outstanding. White Sox get, 3 hits in the first 5 and a 0-0. Previous day, Paul Skeens starts for the Pirates.
Yep.
He gets 1 run, 3 hits of support, offensive support. So that's what you get into when you bet some bad teams, some pathetic offensive performances sometimes. The top pitching matchup today, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Phillies, Tigers, Suarez, Skubal, and Phillies favored on the road -125. Bryce Harper's been hot recently.
Oh, yeah. Did you see the MVP move?
Yeah.
Now you're looking at like under 2-1 now to win the MVP right there, chasing down Ohtani. That is now 31 games where they've allowed 2 earned runs or fewer. And they did it again yesterday. And I could only look at the Phillies here. You got to be concerned what's going on with Skubal. Now, is it, okay, he was good numbers, but he was doing it against some so-so teams, and now he's taking on some good teams, and look Atlanta roughed them up. Gave up 4 earned runs in 4 innings. Before that, Houston roughed them up. 4 earned runs in 6 innings.
Yep.
So that is now back-to-back bad starts, and the way the Phillies are going here. And plus Suarez is 10-1 with a 1.75 ERA, 95 strikeouts, 19 walks. Should be the favorite, I think, to win the Cy Young. What he's doing, I don't want any part of Detroit here. And another
Suarez was not great in his previous start at home against the Padres last week, but he might have had some distractions there. He had family in town, seeing him pitch for the first time. He was not very sharp against the Padres last week. One thing Skubal's got going for him here, he's a lefty, and the best Phillies bats are lefties. Probably a stay away for me with the road favorite here. How about Garrett Cole going against the Mets, Yankees-Mets?
What do you think, Mr. Yankee? Yeah.
I liked Garrett Cole's first start. I thought Aaron Boone screwed it up, as he always does, almost always does. Pulled Cole too soon. What was it, Paul, 65 pitches?
Yeah.
And
so what's the plan today? Because it's good for a K prop and maybe some of his unders if they're going to do that again.
I think the pitch limit's going to be 80, and you might see Cole go 5 innings. So that would be the guideline I would work with if you're looking to props or if you're going to bet this game. And if you're looking to bet the Yankees, and you think Cole's going to shut down the Mets, you got to look first 5. But the Mets are a hot team, too.
Absolutely. I was just
Talk
going
about
to say
the
that, yeah.
Astros, the Cardinals, the Red Sox. Don't forget about the Mets.
Yes, and they are in this now for most wins in June. And I know someone who has a big ticket on the Mets, and it was just, they were a laughing stock again, and it seems like every other day Cohen was going to X to tweet about Almasari. But you're right, since Grimace threw out the first pitch and what they doing. So they swept the Nationals, which don't laugh, they're playing good ball and had a good season. But then you win the 7 in a row, stubbed your toe against Texas, okay. You won the series in Chicago, and now you take on 2 against the Yankees. It's a tough close to the month if you're trying to cash this ticket. 2 against the Yankees and 3 against the Astros. But again, everyone is in this in the National League, but Colorado and Miami. So if they make a move and decide to do something here at the deadline, they're playing great ball. Maybe they're buyers, and they're in this race with a couple other teams for Seattle, one of them, and I think Baltimore. But a great race here for most wins in the month. And I think St. Louis is in that discussion too. Right. So it's going to be a great race here with a week left in the month. But, full marks to what the Mets are doing. Anything else? Yeah, I know it's a pretty good card, but it's hard. How about Keller and Green? How about they just played, and this was the exact pitching matchup, and it was 1-0. This run, I mean, if the Pirates could get the offense going here, I mean, it's so frustrating. And Cincinnati was great yesterday, but the run that the run that Mitch Keller is on is phenomenal.
I would like to bet the Pirates, but after backing Skeens first 5 in the game on Sunday, I can't do it again here because you can't trust the Pirates to put a number on the board to back their pitchers.
Yeah. Yep. So he went 7 strong in the last start. 7 innings, no runs. Yeah. Cardinals touched him up June 13th, but other than that, 6 innings, no runs, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, no runs, complete game, 6 innings, 2 runs. Keller's been sensational other than one rough start.
Maybe the first 5 under.
Yeah. Green's been good too. Yeah. 8.5's the total for the game. Paul Stone up next. We'll preview a double shot with Paul Stone. He has a bunch of picks in the Sun Belt, 2 win totals, 2 picks to win the conference, which includes a long shot, and his thoughts on Notre Dame. Big expectations for the Irish and a high win total. Paul Stone up next, VSiN. Follow the money, the Sports Betting Network. Great day of soccer. 4 matches today. Nigel's got a pick on 3 of them. Read his write-up every day, VSiN.com. Shoemaker on the WNBA. Lombardi on the NFL. Brent Musburger with NFL picks and futures. Best bets, betting splits, betting tools, and betting guides. Check it out. Bookmark it every day. VSiN.com. Our weekly visit with Paul Stone. Paul Stone Sports on X, the website. Check out his podcast as well as we continue our previews in college football. This week, it's the Sun Belt. We'll also sneak in a little Notre Dame for everyone in Marquee and the Irish with big expectations. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you gentlemen this morning?
All right, my friend. You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Paul, great to talk with you this morning. And I'm curious how the college football games of the year market has changed from your viewpoint in the, let's say, the past 5 to 10 years to what it is now, because you were one of the first guys at the South Point when Chris Andrews would put up the numbers, or at the Golden Nugget when Tony Miller would put up the numbers. And how did you have to approach things differently this summer? Because we're seeing these numbers go up sooner than ever before, and books like DraftKings putting up the numbers first.
Yeah, and that's part of it with PASPA, the passage of PASPA and the proliferation of sports betting throughout more than 35 states, I guess now throughout the U.S. These aggressive operators get these numbers out earlier. So I'm making games of the year now as early as about mid-February.
Yeah. Wow.
So you have earlier opportunities, but at the same time, you're being pretty aggressive because there's so much uncertainty. You know, you're betting games before spring training, before spring practice has even taken place, has even started in any schools. And there's obviously a lot of roster turnover in that second portal window. So it's a little bit more of a crapshoot, and you're quote-unquote gambling a little bit more maybe in past years.
Paul's on the Progressive Guest Line, college football handicapper to the Sun Belt, and we've had a lot of success the last 2 years, cashing tickets on Troy. had a future on Troy 2 years ago, 11-3 last year, 12-2 the year before. They lose just about everybody. New coach, and they only return 4 starters. What do you want to do with Troy, sir?
I'm not going to do too much with Troy, Paulie, except maybe fade them when the opportunity is there. Like you mentioned, this roster has just been cannibalized by other teams. Their head coach, John Sumrall, leaves for Tulane. So Troy, it's kind of sad to see, but it's just the age that we live in as far as college football with the transfer portal and NIL. Some of these group of 5 schools, like those competing in the Sun Belt Conference, are just going to be really taken advantage of by the bigger schools. So Troy doesn't have much back. They lost their coach, John Sumrall. He leaves for Tulane. James Madison, which won the other division in the Sun Belt last year, they lose their coach, Kirk Cignetti, who goes to Indiana. And then a third head coach, South Alabama's Kane Womack. He leaves Mobile for Alabama, University of Alabama, to become their defensive coordinator. And then a couple of other teams, ULM and Georgia State, will also have new head coaches in 2024. From a player standpoint, the most notable defection was Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall. He's thrown for over 10,000 career yards in his collegiate career. He transfers to North Carolina State, where he'll play for the Wolfpack this year in the ACC. So just a lot of changeover in the Sun Belt, and certainly Troy, their power ranking, off the top of my head, it's got to be, 12, 15 points lower than it was at season's end last year.
The win total 7 at William Hill, and under 7 with Troy's win total, as they have a tough schedule and lose just about everybody. A team you're high on, Arkansas State. Let's start with the win total, 5.5 at DK. Butch Jones, 6-7 last year. They returned 16 starters. What do you think of Arkansas State, please?
Well, you look at the Sun Belt Conference, and with all this turnover and all this change, I think there's a team, an unknown maybe, somebody a little bit further down the list that could emerge this year in the Sun Belt Conference. And I think Arkansas State has a good shot at being that team. Their head coach, not new head coach, he's now in his 4th season, but former Cincinnati and Tennessee head coach Butch Jones has the Red Wolves displaying steady progress under his leadership. Went 6-6 last year in the regular season, lost the Camellia Bowl 21-19 to Northern Illinois, but they return a talented dual-threat quarterback in sophomore Jalen Rayner. He was the league's freshman of the year last year, threw for over 2,500 yards, ran for 574 net rushing yards. He's going to have a lot of weapons at his disposal. This is going to be a really good Red Wolf offense. They return their top 4 rushers, 8 of their top 9 receivers, rather, and then they have a veteran senior, junior offensive line. Got to get a little bit better on defense. They've given up an average of 30 points or more in each of the last 5 years, but I think they'll be a little bit better on defense. A diversity of opinion this season, when you look at that regular season win total for Arkansas State, DraftKings and Circa actually list that regular season win total for Arkansas State at 5.5. Conservative juice, DraftKings only -110 on the over, Circa -120. William Hill lists Arkansas State's regular win season total at 6, juice to the under at -125. And then you look at FanDuel, they have that total at 6.5.
Wow.
The over at +148 if you want to get adventuresome there, and the under at -184. I made Arkansas State's regular season win total 6, heavily juiced to the over. I think they're going to field, again, one of the best offenses in the conference. I think 6-6. I think that would be a mild disappointment. All we need is 6 regular season wins to get to the over. I'm going to recommend taking Arkansas State over 5.5 at -110 there at DraftKings.
Great number. Okay, let's take it a step further. How about to win the Sun Belt at Circa 18-1?
I like that number. I'm going to recommend splitting a unit, and half of that unit's going to be on Arkansas State at 18-1. Again, they've got a really good offense. I mean, they're going to have perhaps the best offense in the entire Sun Belt. They have an athletic quarterback. They didn't get impacted too dramatically through the transfer portal. So I'm going to recommend splitting a unit, Arkansas State at 18-1 there at Circa to win the Sun Belt.
Okay, and then with the other unit, App State is the favorite, plus 320 at DraftKings, 9-5 last year. You mentioned this last week when we did Conference USA. They have that huge game September 28th at home against Liberty. So what do you think here with App State and their chances to win the Sun Belt with the other half unit?
Yeah, they've played in 4 of the league's 6 Sun Belt championship games. This is a team that won the title back in 2019, actually defeated Louisiana 45-38 that year. It's important to note this, the conference championship markets, they refer to the winner of the league's championship game. Sun Belt consists of 2 17 divisions with the championship game, pitting the East Division champion against the West Division champion. That game played on the home field of the team with the better overall conference record. You look at this Appalachian State team, they figured to be favored in all 8 of their conference games. In addition to the tradition, they've got a veteran leader and 5th-year head coach Sean Clark, got a returning quarterback in Joey Aguilar, have the makings of perhaps the league's top defense. They should be well prepared for the Sun Belt. They play a really rigorous non-conference schedule. Mm-hmm. In September, they travel to Clemson in East Carolina, also host Liberty in non-conference play, going to be one of the top group of 5 non-conference plays of the non-conference season. According to my numbers, App State would currently be a double-digit favorite in 4 of its 8 conference games, and in the remaining 4 league contests would be favored by less than a touchdown only once. That would be on October 12th when they travel to Lafayette to play the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. I like Appalachian State on that other half unit at plus 130 there at FanDuel to win the Sun Belt.
Excellent.
Excellent breakdown of the Sun Belt.
Yes. Good league. And good league that's had a lot of success in the last few years as well. We'll get to hang tight, Paul. We'll get to Notre Dame coming up next and high expectations with the Irish. What are your thoughts on the Irish this year? That's a big – the schedule's – I know they usually play a tough schedule, but when you look at it, big expectations, good team on paper, total 10-10.5.
Well, again,
it's not inconceivable to get to 11-1 with Notre Dame.
Right. I actually kind of like Notre Dame's schedule, and I think Marcus Freeman's done a pretty good job, despite all the negativity that Brad Powers and Tim Murray spew on this network about the Fighting Irish program in the last year or so. Uh-huh. Now, Powers and Murray are both Notre Dame fans, and a lot of times fans are skeptical or pessimistic about their favorite team. I actually think this Notre Dame team's on the rise. I'm interested to hear Paul Stone's view because I've been working on a lot of college football. I'm certainly behind the curve set by guys like Brad Powers and Paul Stone, who are way ahead of everybody else with the amount of work they do on college football.
No doubt. And I'm lost until I get the Phil Steele magazine.
You got it now.
I got it.
Because Paul Stone sent that magazine to you this week, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I owe him steak and a beer for sending that as well. So App State plus 320. Arkansas State 18-1 to win the Sun Belt. Yep. Troy under 7 at William Hill, and Arkansas State over 5. Very important with the number here. Again, his breakdown was awesome. Very important with the number. Ark State 5.5 at DraftKings. Notre Dame up next with Paul Stone. Good breakdown, good team. Could be a playoff team. VSiN, follow the money, the Sports Betting Network.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Paulie Howard, Matt Youmans, welcome into Follow the Money. The show is presented by DraftKings. It lived up to the hype last night. Game 7, 2-1 Florida. Another under. 17 of the last 18 Game 7s in the Stanley Cup have gone under 5.5 goals. You did get the first period that went over, and then the goal by Reinhart, which you could make the case Skinner has to come up with that. Was he screened? But glove side, and that stands up, and that holds up in the 2-1 win. I know you were critical of McDavid, Matt. A no-show in Game 6 and Game 7. No points, only 2 shots on goal. The drought continues. Canada hasn't won a cup since 1993. The Edmonton Army was out. They took over that building and that arena. They were loud. They were proud. Disgraceful Florida fans selling their tickets with what happened with Game 7. But there was no choke and no collapse as 3-0 becomes 3-3. And Florida wins 2-1. Bob was great. Florida, they get the first goal. Edmonton quickly answers, but they win 2-1, and they get their first Stanley Cup with that organization, and a great job by Paul Maurice.
You know, the show's called Follow the Money. Hopefully you did not follow the money in Stanley Cup Final Game 7 because the money was on the wrong side, mostly to the Oilers. Here at Circa, actually the Panthers hit plus 107. It turned into home dogs in Game 7, and Paul, again, that's one of those games where I felt like you had to think like a contrarian, where so many people in the market had decided the Oilers are going to win this thing because they won 3 in a row. Say, hold on here for a second. We got a home dog, and the Panthers won the first 3 games of the series for a reason. That was kind of a coin flip, Game 7, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Shot by Reinhart, hell of a shot that sneaks in there. I thought the Oilers had a couple great scoring chances in the last 5 minutes of the game, too. But that's what hockey is, right? That's the way the puck bounces, and it bounced the Panthers' way in Game 7. Under the total, popular bet, really popular bet in the market. So I think a lot of bettors made out well in this game, betting under 5.5. Didn't look great early with 2 quick goals on the board, but the game really slowed down. Under the total, an underdog, and that's how the NHL season wraps up.
I was hoping for overtime, and you are right, so close. It looked like McDavid was going to tie it. And then they also had the opportunity in the second period.
Remember that sequence from Bobrovsky was on his back, flopping around like a fish out of water, and the goal's wide open. The Oilers can't stick it in there.
I thought it was coming. Damn, it's tough. Which I know they've had so much success, but it's like, how many beats can you take if you're Canada? You got to finally get it. You've been so close, as they showed numerous times by McDonough and Ferraro on the broadcast about the close calls. And even though it hasn't happened since '93, making it to the Stanley Cup final, and then down and out, buried 11-2 the goals, and going into the third period of Game 3. And then you win the next 3 and blow them out 8-1 and 5-3, and here you go 5-1. And great job though with this potent attack and the firepower. And this, I know you want to say he was playing injured too. But Draisaitl also didn't do much as well. But the fact that they were in this position without McDavid doing anything in the last 2 games and not much from Draisaitl in the Stanley Cup final, and you take it to 7, and they only get 1 goal and they fall. I mean, you tell me before the game that Skinner's only going to allow 2.
Yeah.
I love my chances with how great they've been offensively. And the power play has been so good. This all-time ridiculous power play. Only 3 power play opportunities in the entire game, 1 for Edmonton. And Edmonton goes into the offseason killing off 48 of the last 49 with the penalty kill. Again, a great job and a great coaching job by Knobloch, but they fall short, and Florida gets it done. They were plus 450 to win in 7. But your thoughts on McDavid, and also we'll get into the Conn Smythe here and the shenanigans with the crazy line movement while the game was going on.
First of all, too, I think the officials did a great job of staying out of the way, which they do a lot of times in a Game 7 or a Super Bowl, right? The officials don't want to be the story.
The Fogle you had to call. The cross-check, the stick comes up right away 4 minutes into the game. But that's I always want to see that. That's rule number 1 of a big game. Stay out of the way. Don't be the difference, and don't be the reason a game's decided.
You and I talked a lot about this to open the show. I didn't feel like Connor McDavid deserved to be a minus 3,000 favorite to win the Conn Smythe going into Game 7. He was minus 250, $3 going into Game 6, and he had 0 shot attempts and 0 points. Again, Papa Giorgio here tweets this, and I think a lot of people probably share this opinion. It's a little harsh, maybe. McDavid's the best player in the league, but, Paul, you can't no-show in Game 6 and Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final.
I was surprised.
The quote to tweet to us here at Follow the Money: "This McFraud is no Gretzky, Lemieux, or Messier. I didn't even hear his name the last 2 games. Real superstars would never disappear like that." And it's harsh, but it's also true that when your legacy's on the line, when you're trying to win a cup for Canada for the first time in 30 years in your franchise, in such a high-stakes game, 6 and Game 7, how do you no-show like Connor McDavid did? Now, he was, I think, an influence out there. He's still an incredible playmaker and a passer. But, man, you gotta make a difference in the game with that much on the line, and he didn't do it. And probably still deserved to be the Conn Smythe winner. But
I'll agree with that.
I think it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths when you see a superstar like that who doesn't show up really in the last 2 games of a high-stakes series.
Well, not to have an impact either. 2 shots on goal.
Right.
And that's the disappointing thing. And certainly those all-star teams in the 80s with the Oilers, it was ridiculous. I mean, it was Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Coffey, it was Fuhrer. It was ridiculous how good they were. But you it's going to follow them around, that you have to win the big one. And this was the year they finally got defense and goaltending, and then they couldn't get it done. He couldn't get it done when it counted. But that's the disappointing thing. If Skinner has an off night or Florida's fantastic, you say, okay, you tip your cap to him and say, great job. But you allow 2 goals and you can't win with this potent Edmonton team. That's a disappointing thing as well, and also to be so close, because we saw the firepower and to take them out 8-1, and to beat them 5-3, and to beat them 5-1. But when I need you here, when I need you the most, you know where to be found, and you disappear in Game 6 and Game 7. He does become the 6th player to win the Conn Smythe on a losing team, the 2nd skater all-time. Leach did it in 1976. The other 4 are goalies. The last to do it, Giguère, in 2003. Now, while the game was going on at DraftKings and other markets, he was minus 250 in the second period. He came down to 250. So, as you pointed out, how could he get up to 3,000?
Right.
When you go from minus $2, $3 up to 3,000 after they win Game 6 and he doesn't do anything. And then he goes from 3,000 down to as low as 175, as low as 250 at DraftKings in the second period. And Barkov was 2-1, Bob was 9-1. And then he ends up winning the award and doesn't accept the trophy and doesn't come out. He takes it later but wouldn't come out.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either.
Yeah.
I mean, he's battling the emotions and getting so close, and it's like, that's a weird situation.
Kind of like Rory McIlroy at the U.S. Open, right? It's
right.
Maybe the most crushing moment of your professional career. Do you want to go out and accept an individual award? Nah, I don't think so. I'm fine with Connor McDavid not doing that. So the minus 3,000.
But the books are guessing.
It's a bizarre.
Yes.
It's a bizarre betting market. It's a bogus number, and obviously you could see that in the way that number deflated during the Game 7. What'd you say? Got all the way down to minus 175 or 250?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because to me, although he's had a great playoff run, it's hard to get there with Bobrovsky.
Right.
And certainly, while he no-showed in Game 6 and Game 7, you had a 20-point gap between McDavid and everyone else, and he was in the Gretzky-Lemieux discussion in terms of most points in a single postseason.
Sure.
And broke Gretzky's record for most assists. And it was Hextall did it in 87, Giguère I mentioned, Leach in 76, Glenn Hall goalie in 68, Crozier goalie in 66 as well, with Conn Smythe Trophy winners from a losing team. But we just saw this very situation, this thing play out in the Eastern Conference Finals of the NBA, where Tatum got as high as $11 and didn't win it. And went to Jaylen Brown for Eastern Conference Finals MVP. So they're putting up a mark and putting up bets, which good for them. But it's a guessing. And you still have the artifacts and relics. Who are you going to vote for someone on a losing team? Well, it's different, as you pointed out. Conn Smythe is the entire playoffs as opposed to other sports and the NBA, because I thought LeBron absolutely should have won in 2016. There are still a lot of voters. I won't give it to someone on a losing team. Can't do it.
There's 2 things here. One is, you and I were looking for this. We still can't find the results of the voting for the Conn Smythe. Has that been published somewhere?
I can't find it.
The other thing,
NBA puts it right out there.
Yeah. Another thing is, we just watched 7 Stanley Cup final games, and the Oilers' top 2 offensive players, McDavid and Draisaitl, scored a total of 2 goals, and one of those was an empty net goal.
Yep. Yes.
That's a big disappointment.
That is tough. Yeah. That is a tough off season. And a tough one to shake. That is that's.
We got the vote.
That is going to be tough to overcome. But that certainly it's fair. Oh, it's Greg Wyshynski. What does he have? Okay, I'll look at it in a second. The other angle is Corey Perry, which can you believe this now? He's lost 4 Stanley Cup Finals on 4 different teams within 5 years: Montreal, Dallas, Tampa, and now Edmonton. That's a lot of weird stuff happened in this series, between the blowouts and how it flipped and the adjusted series prices.
Wow.
And then certainly what happened with the Conn Smythe. You thought Bob had it. Still a vicious beat, though, if you had Bob or Barkov to win the Conn Smythe, because you're up 3-0. They're going to win the series. And you think, Cash, what are the tickets? Do you have it? What do you see?
McDavid got every first place vote but one.
Oh.
Barkov got almost all the second place votes. Bobrovsky actually got one first place vote from Ryan Clark of ESPN.
Ryan Clark has a vote?
How is Ryan Clark
What?
on the ballot list? Look at this crap.
Is it 18? Yeah. All for McDavid but one with Bob. So the 3,000 was a good number, as it turns out. Win some, lose some. Up next.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.